So the execution of this guy, Joseph Rudolph Wood, has been making headlines recently because his death by lethal injection took 1 hour and 57 minutes to complete. And by complete, I mean it took him about 2 hours to die. He is still dead, right? Yeah? Okay, good. Still dead. But think of it this way. The first Alien movie runs that long. So does another Ridley Scott film, Blade Runner, 1 hour and 57 minutes. My show on KTAR every day, Rob and Carrie, you know, Monday through Friday. Cheap plug, I get it. But my show runs that long, the same amount of time it took Wood to die, just about 2 hours. But I digress. Wood's execution has been called botched, it's been called cruel and inhumane. But others are pointing out that he did murder 2 people, and we have to remember that. He murdered his ex-girlfriend and her father. So some say he didn't suffer enough. They want to do all kinds of medieval things to him like Samuel L. Jackson would do in Pulp Fiction. Jules Winfield aside, like it or not, as a nation, it seems we're gradually moving away from the death penalty. Let's go back to 2012. The United States only executed 43 people that year. That's it. And 15 of them were in Texas. But 43 is still good enough to rank us 5th in the world. China, of course, #1 because they kill all kinds of people for all kinds of different reasons. Heck, I think if you walk down the street the wrong way, China can whack you for that. Just saying. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th on this list were in order, get this, Iran, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia. Yeah, not exactly keeping great company hanging out there in the top 5, are we? But either way, executions here are more expensive for taxpayers than simply locking someone up for life in prison. Mostly because of legal appeals, some of which take over 20 years. Wood himself was convicted for his crime back in 1991. And I think in the last week of his execution, it was put on hold like a dozen times due to appeals. 20 years. Think about that. It's a really long time. And I used to think the same thing too. Appeals should be shorter until I saw a study suggesting 4% of inmates on death row are innocent. That should give us all pause. Personally, I swing back and forth on the death penalty. I think it's too costly. I don't want innocent people to be executed. I also don't want them to take 2 hours. But I know some people's crimes are so heinous, they deserve death. Death penalty cases should be reserved for the worst of the worst, and only with concrete, insurmountable DNA proof. So instead of guessing at which drug combination will put a prisoner to sleep, battling pharmaceutical companies who don't want their drugs to be used, I'm saying we bring back the firing squad. And yes, I'm serious. Not exactly medieval like being hung, drawn, or quartered. And if you have no idea what that is, look it up. I'm just going to tell you this. Hanging's the nicest part of it. It's straight up nasty. It's also not like the Iron Maiden. No, not listening to their music. This thing. It's not the guillotine. It's not the Judas chair. It's another one to look up. It looks kind of like this. Ooh, think about it. Just looks painful. The firing squad is the best option because it meets the victim's need for revenge. It's also quick, painless, and I'm guessing, final. And let's be honest with ourselves, it's way better than the electric chair or the gas chamber.